have a radio voice.
Open up the access lines on Shit Music 23 FM.
Have you been in radio?
No. I mean, yes.
With that
yes. Yes, of course I have. A number of times.
Okay, we're recording.
Oh. Good afternoon. Good morning. Whoever it is that's on the line, as in people that aren't listening. I'm just quickly bringing up the presentation. First, opportunity to go and explore. And by exploring, I mean, I'll just share with you very quickly. I've stepped out of a corporate world for where I've been for about 25 years, roughly. And I've stepped out of that to go and explore not only me being a better person and exploring where my life goes and actually honouring what my strengths are, but secondly, to explore this opportunity that I've come across in being an active member of CYC. I've sort of assumed a little bit of what I believe is a really achievable 5-year business plan, and what I attempt to share today is a really high-level overview, a helicopter view if you like, of where we're going, what we want to achieve, a little bit of how we want to achieve it, and the last part of it is really, oh, hold on, no one can see my screen, can you?
No.
No.
You should have your little rectangle there, and the microphone, then the screen, then the camera.
Yeah.
There we go. Yep.
Okay. Sorry about that. So what I've pulled together here is a very high-level helicopter view of what the future looks like for 5 years with Choose Your Chapter. Now, given where I'd love to say we're at an embryonic stage, but I think we're a little bit further than that to bring to ground what this really means. So hopefully today, by the end of today, you'll have a better understanding about what our vision is, what we need to do, how we need to do it. And we're going to ask at the end for a commitment from you, and likewise, we're going to provide a commitment back to you about what we'd like to do and what we'd like to achieve. So I've prepared, I think it's about 10 pages in this document that I'll share with everybody afterwards, and you've got a copy of it right now, and we've got a recording, thank you Danny, so that we can review back later. The reason why we've done this is to be able to provide a structured framework around what we can do together. Now understand this is part of my strengths, it's not all of my strengths. My communication is my strength, and strategic communication are my two key strengths. But I'm going to leverage off my corporate stuff and try and impart some of this here. So hopefully everyone's okay with what I've just provided an overview with right now. And I'll take silence as being yes.
Yes.
So, 4 items. First part, we're going to talk about the business plan. The second part, we're going to talk about a 5-year strategy around what does that look like. Thirdly, the role you can play, and what we're talking about is not getting down into the detail, but we're talking about a very, very high level overview, and then from there we're going to move down into the next level, not today, but at a different time. The last part, we're going to talk about what the next steps are. Cool. Now there's a lot of words on this screen right now, but to give you the very short summation, CYC is a national organisation of strengths coaches that are focused on identifying strengths for individuals and organisations. Now we see CYC as having a high performance culture firstly, and secondly to be able to share it with our clients by doing, what's that, 8 key things. Focusing on the client, collaborating with other coaches. Now this sounds rudimentary stuff, but we want to get it absolute clarity out there around what the expectation is about what we're talking about. We want to exude optimism and confidence, not arrogance, but confidence. We want to be able to share that high-performing culture by flexing and adjusting to stay ahead of change. Because at the end of the day, you're either ripe and rotting or you're green and growing. And the only way that we can keep moving forward is by staying ahead of it. We have absolute expectation of unwavering integrity. Certainly, if I speak for myself, one of the things that attracts me about what we've got going here is there is absolute integrity of intent around everything that happens, whether it's seen or not. I certainly believe that, and that's what I stand for. A high-performance culture with clients is only done by actually participating. It's not about passengers. If we're talking about passengers, and certainly where we're at right now, perhaps we're not in the right space. This is actually about active participation, and sometimes we need to be able to provide that structure and the framework to be able to ensure that that participation is focused in the best possible manner. And we take partial responsibility of that. And the last part, assuming accountability for our clients. And I say our clients because we've got some exciting stuff that we'll go into in a moment on the table, and we really want to make sure that we don't drop the ball one way or another. Now, before I get on to that, last two points. Choose Your Chapter as partnered with Gallup. Now, for those of you that aren't aware of Gallup, just to provide a bit of credentials about them, Gallup is essentially a research organisation, and they dive into a lot of predictive psychology around, for example, what's going to happen in elections, what's going to happen with human behaviour. If they zig, they're going to zag. It's all a matter of predictive assessment. It is driven from 70 years worth of analytical data. So we're talking about hardcore factual numbers, firstly, and secondly, there's a scientific methodology that's taken off the back end of that. Now, what that means for me, and I don't know whether you appreciate that, but certainly when we're talking to clients, we can leverage the integrity of Gallup in everything that we do. Now, while Clifton's Strengths Finder tool is probably one of the key components or key tools that we're utilising in having dialogue with clients, it actually opens a doorway for us to go all the way through a lot of the Gallup products that we have available. Now, the reason why I share that with you, firstly, how large Gallup is, and secondly, that they have a number of tools available. We have, when I say we, I'm talking about CYC, has access to the highest level of Gallup, as in the manager of Australia and New Zealand, and Danny, Nick and myself caught up with him the other week. And I know Danny and Nick have caught up with him several times before, and we're actually having lunch with him again on Friday this week. Now, Matt at Gallup is supportive of everything that we do, and even in my meeting that I had with him with Nick and Danny, I made sure that we paved the doorway open for him to come and support us at any significant meeting that we have. I share that with you with a very deliberate reason. Now, the deliberate reason, if I go to the next page, is drilling into our target markets. The three key markets we've identified at the moment are education and schools. Absolutely, there is a definite need for the acknowledgement, firstly, of strengths, and secondly, how to be able to name, claim and aim those strengths in, and I say education and schools because I don't believe that it's actually limited just to the schooling system. And there are opportunities for us to have one-to-one as well as one-to-many in workshop environments. Likewise, in the corporate space, it's a massive tool for us to be able to go out and leverage in the marketplace one-to-one and workshops again, And likewise in the private market, which is if we've got our own coaching practices, pardon me, to open up the doorway to having dialogue around what these are from a one-to-one environment. Now, these can all interlink into each other. It's just a matter of being aware of what opportunities are out there. So out of those three markets, we've got opportunities that are in progress right now, and they're significant discussions. For example, we've got a proposal that we're putting up that Nick is putting up to the casinos for their employees at the moment. Now, that potentially opens the door to about 8,000 people, and in the proposal, without giving too much away, and please tell me to stop talking, Danny or Nick, if I need to, but in our proposal, we've suggested that we do a trial basis for around 50 people, 50 unpacks, with the view of actually locking up the balance of those. Now that's pretty significant numbers, and we'll get into some numbers in a moment, but that's just one opportunity. We've still got the PGA on the roll, and we're working through what that actually means and how can we bring that to ground in significant numbers to be able to look after the golf pros there. We've got another opportunity where we're very early stages of having dialogue with the Navy in looking after their employees that do have a budget allocated. We've got another one which is access to about 700 mortgage brokers who are looking at increasing the performance of them, and we've got in principle approval to actually run workshops. We've got another accountancy network where we've actually got an accountant talking to other accountants about strength profiling. So these opportunities are readily available on the table now. Now for one moment, just consider an opportunity is only an opportunity until it gets brought to ground. And it would be unrealistic for me to say, for example, I can bring all of that to ground and make it happen today. And it's for this reason why we've got everybody on the call right now to say, guys, we actually need your help to bring these to ground. It goes into that last point. Our challenge is to actually streamline these opportunities. And by streamlining, I mean, what can we do to move this through the sales process firstly, in whether it's finalising the presentation, and yeah guys, I know, I've pretty much pulled this presentation together by myself and it's pretty bland and all that, but guys, we need help with all of these things, and we don't know what we don't know because we've all got different strengths. So if we're able to leverage our strengths to help the process run smoother, then we all actually gain, because then we're able to service the opportunities. So hopefully that gives you a little bit of an overview about target markets, the opportunities, and likewise what we stand for at the moment. Because the next component that I really want to share with you, and understanding we're 20 minutes in, is let's look at the hardcore numbers of what we've projected based on where we've been last month and previously, compared to the opportunities that we have on the table in regards to how many unpacks do we need to do firstly, how many coaches do we need secondly, and then you'll start getting a bigger picture about where we're going. So I trust that everyone's on board with me right at the moment. Yeah? No?
Yep.
Yep.
Yep. Okay. Sorry, Andrea. I did actually see your note just then. I was too busy talking. So thank you, guys. Appreciate it. If you've got any questions, I'm happy to take some right now before I dive into some numbers. No? Okay.
No, people are probably on mute, I think, mate.
That's cool. No worries. Thank you. Thanks, Nick. Got that. Okay. Okay, so let's go to hardcore numbers. I'd like you to start right at the bottom where we've got the 30th of the 12th, 2020. Good. Thanks, Andrea. We'll get into these are specifics. Hopefully these are specifics that you're looking for right at this stage. We're looking to have 1 million unpacks completed by 2020. Now that's a pretty ambitious number, and at the end of the day, if you're going to have a go, and this is my opinion anyway, if you're going to have a go, you might as well go at the highest level. To draw an analogy, I played football my whole life. I never made first grade in rugby union, but what I did do is I made sure I played in the first division comp, and I made sure I played at the highest level I possibly ever could go. And it's that same principle that I guess for me, I'm looking at right now and saying, if we're going to hit 1 million unpacks, what numbers does that mean? What does that really mean for us? So on one bookend, 5 years time, 2020, 1 million unpacks, and I compare it to that month one, what we've got there. That means 40 unpacks in month one. To do a bit of comparison, last month, there were 30 unpacks completed. So they're not unrealistic numbers in the first instance. We tier them up to 120 month 2, 360, month 3, month 4, 1,080, month 5. Those are big numbers, hey? They're massive numbers. And all you have to do is have a look at those 5 opportunities that we've got live on the table, and we haven't really gone out and started marketing. We haven't gone out and started chasing things. And I think there are a number of reasons for that. The first one being we haven't really got our marketing and our collateral together in a coordinated and deliberate manner. We're pulling it together now. We also haven't got the clarity around where we're going and what we're doing, and I'd like to think that right now we're starting to bring this to ground a lot better. So with all of this being pulled together, these numbers by the end of 30th of the 12th, 2015, 10,000 unpacks. Massive numbers, massive numbers. 30,000 in 16, 120 in 17, 18, 360. Now, if you're scared of those numbers, I do encourage you to no, I won't encourage. I'll actually say I think that's a really good thing that you're scared. Because if we're going to do it, we're going to do it all out, and we need your support, and that's what we're asking for today. So if that's what the unpacks that we're doing, we've modelled some assumptions here around what we would need coaches-wise. So as you can see at the top, this is coaches for our 5-year projections. So by the 30th of the 7th, sorry about that, 30th of the 7th, 31st of the 7th, we need 10 coaches. We need them to be doing 4 unpacks a month, which gives us 40 unpacks. 20 by August, 30 by September, October 40, November 50, 60 by 12. They're big numbers, and we're going for growth. We're not mucking around, guys. We're having a decent crack. Hopefully you're still on board with us there. You can see 12 unpacks a month, for example, in September, 360 unpacks. We're making assumptions here as well that we're doing, say, 1.5 unpacks a day in October. We're doing 2.7 per day in November. Now these are numbers. We're going to go and chase these goals. These are goals. This is the line in the sand that we're drawing, and we're saying that's what we're going to go for. So everyone can subscribe to it. And the beauty about this is, once we've got a line in the sand, there are many different ways to skin a cat, and we all know that. And what we want to be able to do is leverage and coordinate all of those strengths and point them in the right direction. Now, I'm going to just stop here for a moment, and I'd love for people to come off mute, and those that can, because I appreciate some may be at work and they're unable to speak freely. So I've got my chat bar open here. I'd be happy to hear some feedback from what we've just shared right now before we move on. Either that or I'll sing.
Hi.
Craig, oh, sorry, go ahead.
Yep, there we go.
Okay. Who would like to go first?
I'll go first.
I heard Georgina's voice in there.
Thanks,
Yep.
George.
Yeah, no worries. Just to let you know, Craig, what you've put together is really clear, and it helps to get a good understanding and to really let everyone know what's been going on behind the scenes. And I think the numbers are great. I'm really looking forward to it. I don't have any questions per se around what you've presented because it's pretty clear. Just looking for whatever it is that we need to be able to do to help make this happen.
Cool. Thank you, Georgina. Really appreciate that, and we'll get to that. Appreciate that.
My pleasure.
I think Nick was in there as well.
Yeah, I support what Georgina said. It's really great to have such clarity and just to have a clear direction and clear goals and what we're aiming for. The question I have is kind of around intent. Looking at the initial slide about how we're going to, about integrity and what we're going to be offering, and then looking at these projections, which are huge numbers of unpacks.
Yeah, too right.
Is there thought behind the fact that unpacks are just the start, and
Yes.
that and it's such a tiny start really, because when you unpack a person, you open a can of worms. So
That's
when you
right.
go into a corporation and you unpack a team, you open an even bigger can of worms because there's more
Yep.
people. And so if we've got this many people doing unpacks, is there thought behind how we're going to support the massive change that we're bringing into a group, because we have to help people manage these unpacks?
Correct. Yes, there is. Certainly happy to dive into a lot more detail around that. At this point in time, the numbers that we've put up here are very much led on doing a strength unpack. Now, as you would have seen, there's one-on-one as well as workshops. So a great example of it is, if we model out numbers and say you're doing 5 individual unpacks a day, that's a massive day. That's a massive day. But if you're doing 5 unpacks in a workshop environment, it actually makes it a little bit more efficient. So this comes down to how we actually bring this to ground in the deals that we structure with the different organisations that we move forward with.
Ooh,
so that very much, first and foremost, in my mind, it goes down the path of let's get into workshops in the first instance, and then secondly, we can actually coordinate and tailor-make what it means for each of those organisations in regards to their engagement following. And a great example of that would be, you go in there, do strengths profiling as a workshop, and then out of the back end of that, they say, oh, we need a starting point from where we are from an engagement perspective to a finishing point after we've done the strength profile. Now, we could go and jump straight into Gallup's Q12 engagement tool, which is $15 a throw, and in doing so, we can actually give them a starting point and a finishing point, and any overflow that we can have from that, we can actually get the consultation from the guys at Gallup about how we address it, number one, and number two, we can actually look to resource that in a different manner, whether it's going over to Gallup and saying, guys, we know you've got 85 strength coaches already provided, can we start backfeeding you guys? I mean, these are high quality problems to have. We're not at that point right at the moment, so these are initial thoughts in my mind. The whole thing about this is we've got to get things moving in forward progression. We can forecast and forecast and forecast and forecast until we actually nail something, we don't have much on the table. So yeah, I've had a bit of a think about that. They're just my thoughts unless anyone else has got others.
Okay, Craig, so it's Andrea here.
Hi, Andrea.
Hi. From further on from what Nick was just saying about the structure in that regard and what you've just said, I am that initially we'd all be doing sort of like one-on-one unpacks and things like that, but it seems that as this grows legs, we need to be all learning how to be a trainer.
Correct.
Of doing the unpacks.
Yep.
So I suppose where does that go from learning what the to then becoming a trainer of?
I love where your mind's going, Andrea, because in the opening slide, it's about creating a high-performing culture of an organisation. Now, in my mind, and I think for both Danny and Nick, and I think for actually for all of us, the reason why we're here is so that we can actually be better educated from when we come in to when we leave. In regards to, do I want to be doing unpacks all day, every day? The reality of it is no. What would I like to be doing all day, every day? I'd like to be creating a pathway for me to go down in the context of I'll start off doing unpacks, and then after I've done unpacks, if it means that I'm buddying up with someone who's already been accredited, number one, or number two, I can actually pave a way by accumulating, and I'm just going to put hours or clients that I've unpacked. It actually almost self-funds itself for CYC to be able to consider going down the path of paying for your accreditation to be able to do that. And we just need to work out the actual numbers around what does that mean, what is the break-even point around going from unpacking to facilitating workshops. I mean, Nick, you've done your accreditation. Maybe you could, or sorry, not accreditation, it's certification, isn't it?
It's accreditation.
Okay, sorry.
Almost got accredited. I've just got a few more hoops to jump through to actually get the recognition. I've done the course, the accredited course. I just wanted to get the actual. I need to pass my exam, basically.
Yeah, cool. So the pathway there, how long did that take you, just out of interest, Nick?
The course itself is a week, and then the subsequent stuff can be. I've got until December to do it. It's just a matter of time before I do my 6. I've got to have 6 people respond to Gallup saying how well I unpacked them, and then I have to complete an exam. So it's just been a timing issue. Some people in my group have already done it. I think 2 of the 18 have done it. The rest of them are still in the process of. I think what you were saying before is a valid point. In order to be doing the strengths facilitation, working with corporate and in groups, a person's ability to do that, it is about time and presentation skills. So the Gallup, what the Gallup course that I did taught me was more how to be a strengths coach and how to offer small seminars. And then it also comes down to how experienced people are in terms of actually giving workshops. So I think there's a few different things there that we need to look at. Which is why I brought up this whole idea of these projections and the unpacks. And if we are calling them unpacks and doing the seminars are 2 separate things.
Sure. For intent and purpose, I'm going to refer to unpacks in this presentation as being whether it's one-on-one or whether it's going down the path of workshops, and that was certainly the intent that we went down. Whether it's true and accurate 100% or not, this is about actually having a line in the sand in saying that's what we're aiming for. Now, understand that there's a different way to go about both of those. I think, firstly, with Andrea, there is definitely a pathway available there, and we would actually work to ensure that we can all get down that pathway so that we can be putting ourselves in a position where we can make sure we hit these numbers. And Nick, absolutely, with what you've said about Gallup in the strengths coach component, we can do a little bit more investigation to understand what they do in regards to presenting and facilitating those workshops. I'm sure that that's quite an easy conversation to have with Gallup, number one. And number two...
I'll talk to you about that later, Craig. I can explain all of that.
Cool. No worries. And number two, if we went and landed opportunities like what we've got here, and we partnered with Matt at Gallup to say, Matt, we've got this high quality problem, we need your assistance with it. What can you do to ensure, number one, that we have our own people qualified, accredited, whatever the wording is, to enable them to do that? I'm sure that he would be able to assist us there or point us in the right direction as to what we need to do. This is about, it's almost chicken and egg, but in my mind, we bring opportunities to the table and we use and leverage Gallup for as much as we can so that we can get down the pathway of really adding massive value, and we become critically important to Gallup as a distribution network. And my distribution
Can I add
network,
to that, Craig?
Yeah, please go for it.
Yep, I'd just like to tie in what you've been saying about Craig and Gallup and how they're aligning with us, and also about the accreditation process. For most of you listening, and for those that will listen to this as a recording, you've probably done your own some form of accreditation or courses or whatnot, and you generally know that to participate in these courses with a company of this enormity, you have to go to them. So someone like TCI, you have to go to Melbourne. Someone like Gallup, you have to go to North Sydney. Now, the alignment that we've got with them, they are prepared to come to the Gold Coast, to the House of Strength, and accredit our coaches. So they don't do that for anyone in the world. You go to Gallup, but in this instance, they're prepared to come to us. So if that holds any weight, that's where it all aligns, and I think it's very, very significant. Thanks, Craig.
Awesome. Thank you, Danny. Thank you. And I'm not going to downplay it, but guys, to give you context, I've been at QVE for 7.5 years dealing with CEOs of corporations, so Macquarie, HSBC, Citibank, and a variety of others. And I must say, the ease in which Matt has bought into what we're creating out of Choose Your Chapter is something I've never seen, number one. And number two, the culture of their business is so significant, it's like nothing that any of us have experienced, and I can say that quite confidently. To give you the comparison, and I've shared this with some of you, I was around in the mortgage market when Wizard Home Loans started. There were 4 guys that started it off, or 5, Mark Burris, Brad Seymour, Paul Ryan, Glenn Spratt, and Bryn Nicholson. Now these guys were in a little office down at St Leonard's, and they had ambitious plans of saying, we're going to be a significant player in the Australian mortgage market. Aussie John wasn't even on the map then. And they're saying, we're going to be the alternative to the major banks. Now the one thing, every Friday when I'd go and have beers with them, I'd be going, you guys are full of shit, there's no way that this is going to come to ground. Yet, I caught up with Paul Ryan 2 weeks ago, no, last week, and I said, how good was that? And he said, yeah, it was pretty good actually. We had a $400 million business that we sold, and we grew it out of an idea. And to me, the business component, yeah, sure, that's really lovely because we've all got food. I know we've got to put food on the table, we've got families to feed, we've got mortgages to pay. But I said to him, what was the one thing that kept you guys going? And he said, well, it wasn't one, it was 2. Number 1, we loved what we were doing. And number 2, we had people around us that were going in the same direction and believed in that dream. Now, I feel here we have that. I truly feel that. I put my hand on my heart and I feel that. I don't know where this ends up, I don't need to know, but I'm sitting here going, I want to make this happen. I share that with you just for no other reason than I want to get this moving. There are a lot of questions, there's a lot of ambiguity around a lot of things, and we need to be able to coordinate ourselves so that we can get some structure. I'd like to think we've got a starting point right here, right now. Interesting. I'll stop monologuing now. Okay. I feel like yeah, anyway. Okay.
Thanks. Great.
Now, if we're all cool with what we've got projection-wise, I saw a great quote the other day, and it was Navy SEALs go out there and they make decisions with 70% of the information that they know. They actually make decisions, life-changing decisions, with 70% of the information that they have. Whereas sometimes in life, we all will not move unless we've got 100% decision. Now, I do know everybody that's on the call, you're all taking a leap, number 1, because you've gone down the path of coaching. And that's a real leap, because it's as much a personal journey as it is a business. Now, in doing so, you've taken the opportunity to be the best person you can be. I'm excited by the opportunity for us to be able to step down that path together as a team so that we can all be inclusive and really help each other out. It's about having that leverage strength, and with that strength that we have consolidated, we're going to have robust conversations. Please do not be confused. Sorry, Danny, I'm going to pick on you, but Danny and I, when we caught up, we met face-to-face with Nick, myself, and Danny. Nick and I are very similar. We're both strategic. That's fine. No problems. We get each other. With Danny, for me, it was that communication component in going, okay, I inadvertently was saying no to Danny when he'd be talking and maximising. And for me, that was my mind going, brain overload. I can't deal with everything that you're saying and where you're going right at the moment. So I had to say no, stop. To Danny, it was a red rag to a bull going, what the hell is going on? We had to have a reasonably robust conversation around, hey, my intent is not to cut you off and say you're wrong and I'm right. It's just I can't process it at that time. And Danny said, well, when you said no, what you were saying to me is you think that I'm an idiot because you can't catch up to where I'm going. And so just to have that dialogue, we need to be open and honest enough and transparent enough to be able to have those conversations. So I trust that just even setting that framework, we can all operate under that environment, and that's where the cornerstone of this organisation will be, about our ability to have those robust conversations with respect, with love, with integrity. Stop monologuing, Craig. 43.
Okay, Craig.
Hi.
Hi, Andrea again.
Yeah.
So if we've got a core group of people that are absolutely keen, dedicated, and I'll say almost ready to rock and roll with this,
Yeah.
you know, is it, and I'm just asking the question,
Sure.
is it worthwhile starting to do the unpacks, even though there may be a lot more unpacks to do for those core people, to then show the others, you know, that this is possible, and then they'll be interested in wanting to come on board, because at the moment there's a lot of confusion. They're not understanding it. They're not getting kind of some of the nuts and bolts to be able to understand it, because maybe they aren't or as maximised or as futuristic as some of us may be. And they need to be led a little bit. So I'm just sort of wondering if this is to get moving sooner rather than later, rather than waiting to have 10 or 20 coaches.
Yes.
You know, how do we all start to make that start to then have the others catch on, be the thought leaders?
Great call. Great call. I love where you're going, and you nailed it. You nailed it. Number one has to start now. And what we're talking about, and I haven't even got to the next two slides. The first one is what we need from you. The second one is what we will do for you in return. The people that are on board now absolutely have the opportunity to be the lead, to be, and I hate using being at ground level, but you get to be able to shape where we go, how we go, and we need your support to be able to give us that direction. So if I can just quickly dive to the next page, the role, and I think this is where we're going with it, Andrea, so hopefully if I answer your question here, is what we're looking for now is a commitment of time from the people that are interested, and I'll put up here the group. What we're looking for is a minimum of 2 hours a week. Now, this is outside of unpacks. This is more around, let's get some structure and some process and some commitment to actually making this come to ground. By making it come to ground, a really great example is we've all had competing priorities for a while, but a great example, we threw together a brochure, and it started off just being wording coming from the weekend, the House of Strengths weekend. From there it ended up, it got rewritten, and then Nick put it together in a brochure, and then we threw it around to get a little bit of feedback from it. What we wanted from that was perhaps people to give some constructive input to how can we get this to a level where we're all happy with it going out to prospective corporates, clients, customers, schools, whatever. We need that hour to be able to, even an hour to come together and go, okay guys, what are the top 5 things that we need to be able to provide out of that brochure, and how can we do that? And we've got an active role, we, CYC, have an active role to be able to formulate a framework in which we can provide that feedback, and that's a commitment that we make to you. So that's the first part. We're saying 2 hours a week. Obviously we want to have one meeting at least a week where we're able to check in and provide updates on opportunities that we've got, sales, and when I say sales, I mean if we nail a large client and we're all ready to go, how do we roll out, how do we onboard, who's got the responsibilities and the allocations out of that to be able to move it forward. And then at the end of the day, yes, there is a financial component to play with all of that, which is important for all of us. And what I will say is at the percentage breakup of what comes to the coach that does the unpack and does the origination are of primary importance. By origination, I mean, for argument's sake, if Andrea, you were to bring in a client that has 12 staff, a percentage would go to you. If you did the unpack as well, a percentage would go to you as well. And we can get into the final details once we start securing these opportunities. That's the first part. We expect the active engagement from you guys to optimise your strengths where the organisation is weak, because we only see what our strengths are. We've all been told to focus on our strengths, and where we're not as strong, we know there are others that are stronger that have a differing point of view. And if it's a challenge to communicate, for me communication is really easy, but then I don't have the there are other things I don't have. There you go. I'm not even going to name them, but other people can actually pull it apart. The third part is we need that maturity and focus for you guys to develop the organisation that's going to be able to surf this wave of positive change in the Australian employment and education space. Guys, even Matt from Gallup was talking about how there's this massive wave that's on the way of positive change. And that gets me really excited to think about that when I'm hearing the manager of Australia and New Zealand talking about that wave of positive change. And I see the opportunity for us to make a significant difference given the people and the calibre of people that we have here right now. The last part of it is we need your savvy business mind to help us bring it to ground. And I do say we are asking for your help. Make it very clear, we are asking for your help. Oh, that being said, what role can we play at CYC? There's this sort of goes back to what we were talking about before, Andrea. The last point, the opportunity to gain full Gallup accreditation, whether it's accreditation, wording's not correct, but intent, I'd like to think you get the intent. We want to provide that pathway for you to personally grow as well as professionally grow and make some dollars out of the back end of it. We can provide that steady stream of new clients to unpack so that people can go and focus on what they're really, really good at. We can already provide the access to a strength profiling tool, so through Gallup. I know you can get access to it your own way, but there are visions that I have around us being able to come to a mutually beneficial agreement with Gallup to, I'll just say, redistribute under the CYC banner. And the reason for it is because we then are able to demonstrate our value to Gallup because we can provide them measurable numbers around the amount of introductions, the amount of profiles we've done, and they start going, shit, who are these guys from CYC? Why does Gallup only have 85 strengths coaches and they've had it in Australia for, I don't know, Danny or Nick, do you know how long they've been in Australia?
2.5 to 3 years.
So 2.5, 3 years. And if we can go and deliver these numbers, thank you, Danny, if we can go and deliver even half of these numbers, they're going to be panicking, going, these guys are setting up our entire distribution network. And yeah, sorry to say, this is me being competitive, I would love nothing more than to be able to do that. I'd love to be able to take everybody. Yep, absolutely, strength in numbers, George. And we've got access at the highest level. So that's a role that we can play. Now, I know we haven't gone into the specifics around this is what you do, this is what you do, this is what you do. That was never the intent of this presentation. The intent of this was to go, guys, this is the line in the sand, this is the expectation, these are the hardcore numbers, and this is what we're going to commit to you, you're going to commit to us. What we see as being the next steps is for us to, for you to send us an email confirming these things. The commitment to assisting us reach these targets in the first. The second part, your top 5 strengths. I know some of this is on Facebook, but what we'd love to do is to be able to compile all of this in one area, not just Facebook. I know Facebook's one area, but in almost a source documentation, so that we can see what your top 5 strengths are, your top 3 values, what your core needs are. We want a professional headshot or an image so that we can include it on marketing collateral as well as websites, and a brief description of your coaching packages and what's available out there in the marketplace. And we'd love that by the end of this week. Now, all of those you can send to the info app, choose your chapter, and in doing so, what we will do is come back to you directly so that we can make sure that this is not only formal for you in an energetic exchange of you committing to us, but likewise, it's an energetic exchange coming back the other way and we're committing to you. We don't know what we don't know. What we do know is we've got an exciting opportunity that's available for us right now. So that being said, I'm going to open up the floor for a whole bunch of queries, but just before I do, there's a couple of notes on chat, comments on chat. So, is the brochure complete? Okay, is the brochure complete? Where do we get that to, Nick? It's pretty close to, isn't it?
Yeah, it is done. I've just been waiting for anyone. I've finished it, and
cool.
I'm sort of, well, I'm using it. It's a matter of if people want to change it, I'll change. It can be changed, but effectively from my part, it's done.
Yep.
And then I'm currently working on one for schools, one for golf, my own one for writers groups, based on that one. So.
Okay, cool. Well, so to answer that, then maybe if we can, what we'll do, and I'll just take this down as an action item. What we'll do, so people come. Yep.
Yep. Can I just add there for Erina and whoever else? The brochure is has been written as a high corporate style document. So some of you may want to be approaching individuals or smaller type businesses. The language may be a bit too highbrow. So the idea is this is a baseline brochure that we can then reword, for want of a better word, to market or target the actual individual client that you're looking at. So that's where we need to use your strengths with Nick's strengths and a few of others to design the brochure with the target market in mind. Does that make sense?
Yep. Cool.
Can I add in there?
Yeah, sure.
Yeah, essentially what I thought is that with that base one, then if someone does bring in their own, as Dan was saying, if someone brings in their own client with particular needs, if they let me know what they are, I can quite easily adjust that document. So that would be me working with whoever, and I would see that as part of the process when we are preparing a proposal or what we're going to go in from a training perspective and a group perspective with the client. So, for example, if Erin brought in somebody and said, Nick, this is the sort of thing that this is the sort of corporation they are, or this is the sort of small business they are, this is the sort of thing they need, I can then retarget the brochure according to what they need. And that way, if I am going to be the one going into the training, I also know how to do a training plan specific for that organisation.
Beautiful. It's such a valuable resource.
Yeah, also to add to that, from a training perspective, pretty much Linda and Nick are the only two that we believe under the CYC banner are accredited or qualified at the moment to deliver those workshops and seminars. Yeah.
Cool. Thank you. So hopefully that answers your question, Erina.
Cool. Thanks, guys.
Thank you.
Yes, it
Andrea,
does.
can we get a private email or message with those details so we can arrange the email and who's coming on the weekend? So with the private email or message, details.
I can answer that.
Yep. Thank you.
Yeah, basically we're going to, this recording is going to go up into the S2S group so you can access the video so everyone's got action to it. Unless someone wants to take over and do those emails, the private emails. But this is what Craig's talking about is we need your help. So if someone wants to put up their hand to do these sort of things, by all means. But the best way I've found to do it is in a video process and put it up on Facebook so everyone can access it at any time.
Mm-hmm. Okay, cool. Thank you, Danny. So, good point, Andrea, about having a look just to get feedback. The more people that we get with feedback, the better. The main focus, if I can suggest with our feedback, we make it very narrow in regards to whoever's asking for feedback. We need to say what we want feedback on, and then the person that's responding can be specific about the feedback that they're providing to them. For example, if I shared this presentation to everybody in the group and said, give me feedback, everyone's going to go, well, feedback about what? About the phrasing, about the format, about the pictures, about the colour. Everyone's going to have a different component. We need to be very narrow and very specific about why we want the feedback in every context. I'm guilty of that as much as everybody is, so I'm really happy for that. Yep, cool. So hopefully we're all good with that. So just with questions, I'm going to open the floor up. I'm aware that we only have a few moments. I trust we've only got 2 minutes by my watch, but if people are happy to go to stretch to about 5 past, at 5 past I'd like to make sure that I can get you all back on your way, given we did take a little bit more time. Can I open the floor for questions?
Yeah, it's Georgina. I've got a question.
Hi, George.
I'm sort of more a specifics kind of gal, so I'm wondering if there is some specific areas that the group needs assistance with right now. So Danny and Nicole and you, Craig, are there specific tasks or particular roles that need to be filled at the moment, things on your to-do list that people could use some assistance with, so that if there's a list of things that you need help with, any of us with the strength, I'll put my hand up, I'll look after that, like specifics?
Thank you. Thank you. If you don't mind, I'll go first and then I'll throw it around to Nick and to Danny. One thing I'd love to be able to get a better handle on is how we formalise our engagement, whether it's with a client one-on-one or a corporate, how we formalise that engagement. Now, traditionally I'd default to, yeah, we've all got a coaching agreement, let's default to that. My challenge out of that is, when we go down the CYC path, it would be fantastic to have a standardised document that gets distributed through everybody. These are just my thoughts anyway. So I guess what I'm saying is there an opportunity to be able to investigate legally, or what would be a reasonable document for us to move forward with for a larger client rather than just a one-on-one, number one, and number two, if we could investigate a standard agreement that we can provide to everybody. That's the thought.
Yep. Sorry, Kate, it's one of the things I've been looking at. I've got sitting up on my computer and I haven't yet gone through. I've got a couple of different ones, and we spoke to Donna about it.
Okay.
And where we'd left it, I was going to look at my contract as a teacher. She was going to look at her contract, and then we were going to see what we can look at, how we can combine those as base ideas for working with coaches, like coaches who work with CYC. The next step, how we work with a corporation. Again, I know I've got one that I've got from my stress management in corporations that I can look at as a base document, again, which has been sitting up on my computer screen to work. So Yeah.
Is there an opportunity, maybe, Nick, for you and George to work on that together? I'm just thinking of sharing the workload around. This is actually where our game's going to get won. The more we actually share around the workload, the faster we're going to be moving. So just something to consider.
Yeah. No, look, I'm happy if someone else has got the stuff, they're ready to go. They can. If someone else wants to take it over, as I said, whoever wants to do it, I'll shoot over the stuff that I have, and maybe they want to merge it. Is really the point I was saying.
Yeah.
I'm the same.
Of course, because of my input, I'm happy to provide input, but I would have to say it's not one of my strengths, creating contracts for coaching, but I do have copies of contracts for other coaching companies that I've worked for that could be used as a template. I think I sent some information through to Kelly about the International Coaching Association's Mastery program and how I won't get into the detail of that, but I have lots of input, but whether I'm the person who puts it together and writes it up in contract format, possibly not.
Do you know what I'm hearing? The opportunity out of that is, if you've got all of those coaching contracts available and Nick's got hers available, and I'm sure everyone else does, perhaps we can just go, let's not reinvent the wheel, let's go and find the one that looks like it provides the most amount of protection and then go forward on that basis.
Yep.
Rather than writing it up, George, because I wouldn't be doing that either.
Yeah. I got lots of input.
Well, I've collected my data, and I've got a 20-page document that I use as a commitment, and I handed it out to 80% of the group that came on the long weekend.
Okay.
I didn't really receive much feedback other than it was too long, and no one filled it in. So there's that document we can work from. That's a baseline of a lot of companies that have provided their contracts to me, and I've amalgamated them all into one.
Okay. In the interest of time and understanding, I said 5 past, is it possible, Georgina, would you be happy with us directing some of those agreements over to you?
Yeah, what I was just thinking, Craig, as you said, because of the timing, if maybe we can determine what are the areas that need to be worked on. So if we could compile a list of what needs to be worked on and the types of things that need to be done, and then post that to people and say, okay, listen, who's available or who has strengths, who was willing to put up their hand, and then those people in each of their in each of those areas could either have a separate meeting or have a go-to webinar meeting and coordinate, so we don't have to take everybody's time up.
I think that's a great idea. Thank you very much. I'll take that as an action item. Would love to. What I'm going to do is put something up on Facebook in saying, don't forget, this is very much led by you guys as well. What do you need to see from us as well? So I've got things in my head, absolutely, that I think need to be done, but I'd love to be able to hear from everybody else in the group about what we need to be seeing in order for us to go and move these opportunities forward, number one, and number two, in regards to us being able to support you. So I'll take an action item to get something up on the group very shortly, and then I'll go and do a PM as well.
Okay, because I'm thinking that it'll be much easier when we see all of the roles and the tasks that need to be done and see who's willing to put their hand up and start to have things working across the organization, not just waiting for Nicole and Danny to do it or for you and Nicole to do it or whatever. And if we are aware of what needs to be done, then we can map out our time because we're all busy, but we all want to contribute. But we can put aside this number of hours each week to work on this, and we know what the role is that we're working on.
Wonderful feedback. Thank you. Thank you very much.
Sensational.
Really valuable.
Can I get a minute before we head off? So when you're ready, Craig.
Yeah, go.
Go now? Yep.
Yeah.
Just to draw on everything that Craig said, and thank you very much for running this meeting today, Craig. It's been awesome. The way you language things is just second to none. It's absolutely brilliant, and it's a massive asset to the movement and to CYC. So thank you.
Thank you.
To address the Navy SEAL quote, and I want to add to that, the learning program that we started doing and we're still working on starts with why. So in effect, we're going to finish here today with starting with why. So if you don't remember it or you want to refresh it, it might be worth going back and watching that TED talk again. Starting with why goes on about starting with why, and then the how, then the what. But the important part I want to talk about is the innovators and the early adopters. That's who we've got in this S2S group. It's the people that, like the Apple addictors, that go and queue up outside a store for 3 or 4 days waiting for the next latest piece of technology, not knowing what the hell it's going to be, not knowing if it's going to work, probably knowing that there'll be flaws and there'll be issues and there'll be things that slow them down and hold them up. But it's those early adopters and the innovators that create ideas and take them to the next level. So what Craig's asking for and what we're asking for as a team is to embrace this concept that, yes, we don't have 100% of the information yet. We have about 70, but we have a vision that is worth going after. And that's why we sent out that link to the VOPS model. It is purely a case of you might have a strength in the area of vision or operators or processors or synergists. That's what we want you to focus on. That's your strength. So when there's time for operations, those that had the O come up, then we want you to put up your hand. Those that are processors, we want you to put up your hand. Those that are synergizers, we want you to put up your hand. And if you can see a vision, then put up your hand. So we start with the why, with the early...
Sorry, can I just interrupt for a quick second on that? Along that line, once you've gone through and figured out where you fit in that area, so for example, yesterday I went through and did it, and if you watch the video that's there and really get a feel for who, you know, what your area is, whether it's synergistic, visual, visionary or whatever, and really grasp that, because I went through that email, video yesterday, and it's really pumped me for this meeting to be ready to just add my part into the business, and yeah, just adding that as something that's
beautifully said from a synergist.
Pardon?
Beautifully said from a synergist. And it stands out to me. And it stands out to me, Georgina, and to everyone there, that what Georgina has done today on this call is she's put her input in there, which is one of her strengths. But she's languaged it in a way that her input has contributed to what Craig had to say, and right there in that very moment added to what I had to say, because my language may not have been coming out as well as she can language it. So perfect example. So thanks for that.
You're welcome.
Cool.
So yeah, just start with the why. Work out your why. You now know what our why, as in CYC's why, is all about. We want to improve people's lives and businesses' lives through strengths and focusing on their strengths. For too long, we've been focusing on our weaknesses as a society, and our goal is to change that with Gallup. So again, thank you very much for your time and your patience over the last few months, and indeed today for the last hour. Both Nick and I and Craig and Linda appreciate it so much. And my why is about allowing you to achieve the goals you want to achieve, and I'll support you and be alongside you every step of the way. So thank you, and thank you, Craig.
Thank you, guys. Thank you all very much. I appreciate your time. Really is awesome to be able to have your input. I know you've invested time in here. We want to make sure that you get a return out of it. Expect to get a copy of this presentation. Expect to see some stuff coming up on Facebook very shortly. Nick has put a list of a couple of things that she needs some assistance with, which she's willing to work with people. I'll take that and I'll pop that onto the Facebook group. Is that okay, Nicole?
Yep, that's good. Yep, that's.
Thank you. All right, guys, I'll let you go on your merry way. Remember, if you're driving, use a one wood. Sorry, really bad joke. I'm going to get out of here. Thank you for your time, guys. I really appreciate it. I'm really excited about what we have the opportunity in front of us. Thank you again.
Thanks so much, Craig.
Thank you.